Welcome to the Runes of Ranudar. This is an episodic fantasy fiction currently being published on Royal Road, and there's a link below in the description. A very brief recap of our previous episode. We learned more about our main characters as they embarked on their voyage to the Shielings Islands. And now, let's go to Chapter 4. Their 3-day journey to Dun Darlow progressed without issue. Shellah marveled at the clear skies and calm seas atypical for springtime in the Shielings. There had been no sign of the distinctive longships of the Reavers. That afternoon, the round black tower after which Dun Darlow took its name appeared on the horizon. After the mate confirmed with an armed launch from the Dun of their business, they were escorted into the harbor. Shellah and Jonas got recommendations for lodgings in town suitable for Nessa from the merchants aboard. They soon disembarked into the town. Dun Darlow was a cluster of greasy wharves outside the city wall, with the tower and town packed inside. Tightly clustered brownstone row houses lined close streets that wound up the hill towards the tribal Dun, narrow streets seemingly too small for the tall, stout, wool-bound people that bustled within them. Everything was stained with peat soot. It cast an ochre pall across the otherwise seaside blue skies above. Sheep and chickens ran loose everywhere. Nessa rubbed a smear of something off of her skirt with distaste. "I'm glad we're not here for long," she said. "God, what a place." It was hard to hear her over the preferred means of tribal communication within the Dun, shouting. "Yeah, it's kind of a hellhole," agreed Jonas. "Makes Northport look like Lorinium in comparison. You have to have a real reason to be here, otherwise, why?" He kicked at a chicken scurrying across their path. Nessa pointed to some dripping laundry hanging to dry above the street, already dirtied by the peat ash drifting in the air. "Why do they even bother?" "Oh, come on," complained Shellah. "This is home, or was at one point. Anyway, the whiskey balances this all out, or that's what we tell ourselves anyway." She shifted hers and Nessa's bags on her back while Jonas kept an eye on Nessa's safety. They were constantly jostled by passers-by. "It would have to," said Nessa archly. "Speaking of, where are we headed? It had better have an extra large wash basin so I can sanitize myself." She slid on some goose poop and Jonas caught her by her arm before she could fall. "Really, it's just gross. Why Lowell left Coram City to settle here, I do not know." "A little patience, please. The Wild Rose Inn should be right off the next corner, up the hill a little," said Shellah. "I remember it being a nice place, and a number of our fellow shipmates will be there. Merchants are typically picky about their accommodations, and things do improve the further you get up the hill." "Yes, let's get settled," said Nessa. "The sooner we are in, the sooner we are out of here." The Wild Rose Inn had what looked to be a somewhat cleaner exterior. A footman waited at the entrance and cheerfully took their bags while Jonas spoke to the innkeeper to arrange for their rooms. They were soon shown up a twisting staircase to a small suite. Their main room had cozy tapestries and a small fireplace with fresh turves of peat. There was a private bedroom for Nessa, plus 2 cots were set up by the footman for Shellah and Jonas. Shellah got everyone's bags sorted while Nessa freshened up and Jonas did some reconnaissance about the building. He returned shortly. "Everything looks good. When you ladies are ready, we should check out the food and whiskey downstairs. Looks like they're going to have some music, too. In the meantime, I'm going to take a brief nap." "And then we can return and discuss our plans for tomorrow," said Shellah. "We should rest while we can." Later, Nessa's spirits seemed to improve with whiskey, a solid supper, and lively music. Shellah got a flask to take up to the room and asked the innkeeper to bring up fresh water for their wash basins in the morning. While Jonas got their fire going, Shellah carefully poured whiskey into his 3 striped cockle shells that were traditional to serving the liquor in the Isles. Nessa settled into a tall-backed chair by the fire and reached for one of the cockles. "So, about tomorrow," said Nessa, "I'll be looking for Horfast House. Lowell Horfast was my old instructor at university. He's a renowned lore master and is rumored to keep a large library at his house here in town." "The tribal houses are all up the hill. It should be easy to find," said Shellah, slurping her whiskey from its shell. "Every house will have a tribal badge above its door. Horfast's is a blue snowflake on a white ground." "I might need a couple of days there, depending on what Lowell knows and what's in his library in town. He might have more materials on Horfast Island I'll need to see." "Well, I hope everything is in town," said Jonas. "The Wind Dancer will depart back to Northport later this week once these merchants have brought their fleeces. There isn't another ship expected in port anytime soon with the Reavers about." Shellah remembered exactly where Horfast Island was. It was the largest island near Skyfast in the outer archipelago and was home to her sister's family. Horfast is a few days' sail away from here. The quickest way, we have to get across the main island and find a ferry from Dun Wislow. And if you think this town is a dump, you haven't seen Dun Wislow. May Lowell have everything I need here so we don't have to visit his damn country seat, said Nessa. She motioned for a refill. This stuff does make the town better, if largely by encouraging forgetting. That's how it works, admitted Shellah. I also have a cantrip for the headache you'll have in the morning. Great. Nessa hoisted herself out of the big chair, entered her room, and shut the door. This place just gets better and better, they heard her grumble from inside. Shellah and Jonas sat by the fire for a while. They listened to the peat crackle on the hearth. The room was cozy, quiet, clean, and safe within the Dun's walls. Shellah swirled more whiskey inside the purple interior of the shell cup. I have a feeling we're going to Dun Wislow, she said. Everything's been too easy thus far. I don't trust it. Me neither, Jonas agreed. Who needs 2 bodyguards to visit an old man in a library? We've been doing this for too long, Shell. That's for sure. Shellah swigged her whiskey and felt its fire warm her tongue and throat. Gotta enjoy this comfort while we can. The next morning, as Jonas returned to the wharf to check on the status of the Wind Dancer, Shellah led Nessa up the hill of the Dun to find Horfast House. The city did get cleaner the further up they walked, or at least the livestock was kept in the yards and out of the streets. The raw gray weather of the morning cleared the peat smog from the air, making the day fresher, if colder. Before long, they saw the sign of a simple blue snowflake on a white ground, the sigil for the Horfast tribe. Nessa grabbed the heavy brass door knocker and gave it a strong rap. An elderly manservant soon answered the door. "Hello, what is your business here, my ladies?" he asked, ushering them into the quiet main room. The polished wooden panels reflected the weak morning sun. Woven into the wall tapestries and the carpet below was the snowflake insignia for the Horfasts. Shellah admired a handsome basket-hilted broadsword mounted above the massive fireplace, a blade befitting a tribal chief. "I'm here to visit Lowell Horfast, Nessa Nafisar. I was a student of his at university, and this is my bodyguard, Shellah." Nessa visibly struggled for Shellah's last name. "Shellah Skyfast," said Shellah. "Is he expecting you, love?" "No," replied Nessa. "I hope not to take too much of his time. Is he in residence?" "Yes, and it's no bother," said the manservant. "We don't get many visitors here outside of tribal business. Make yourselves comfortable, and I'll let his lordship know you're here." Nessa paced back and forth while Shellah took a moment to sit and enjoy the fire. "Nessa!" they heard someone exclaim. An older, balding man with a short white beard entered from a side door. At his throat, a huge snowflake brooch centered with a sparkling aquamarine pinned his blue plaid cloak, the badge of the chief of the Horfasts. "A pleasure to see you!" He embraced Nessa warmly. "And you've brought a Skyfast, our neighbors to the west." "My sister is Dilly," said Shellah, "Mo's wife." "Of course," Lowell Horfast said. "We love our Dilly. What a nice surprise." He clasped his hands. "Wenlow, please bring some whiskey for our guests. Visitors, what a nice surprise." "I hope not to take too much of your time," said Nessa in an attempt to bring the focus back to her business. "I need your assistance in identifying a scroll I've found. Perhaps we can go to your library?" "Oh," said Lowell. Yes, follow me." He pointed back towards the door from which she had come. "This way, Nessa. It's been too long." "Shellah, you can stay here. Enjoy the fire," said Nessa as she hurried out behind him. Shellah recognized that as a dismissal, but Wenlow would soon return with the whiskey. As a native of the Shielings, it was never too early in the morning for it, as whiskey was the proper way to welcome guests no matter the time of day. The fire crackled. She was sure the chief's whiskey would be his very best. Not a bad way to start the morning. Wenlow did return, but not bearing any whiskey. "Miss Skyfast, would you follow me to the library? His lordship has a question for you." Shellah got up. "Sure. I was looking forward to that whiskey, though." Wenlow laughed. "It's in the library, ma'am." They found Nessa and Lowell bent over a yellowed sheet of parchment spread across a broad oak table in the library. Piled everywhere, on shelves or not, were the promised books. Wenlow handled Shellah a cockle of the chief's whiskey. "I don't know, Nessa," said Lowell. "It looks very old, and it's in an ancient lair in hand, but it could just be a sheet of old riddles." He looked up at Shellah. "Miss Skyfast, you're a native. What do you think of the following? Miasma's shroud lies on a mundy isle where Coln doth dwell. His wizened face looked up at her, his expression not quite readable. Does that sound familiar? Shellah thought for a moment as she sipped her whiskey, honeyed and fiery as a Darlow whiskey could be. Mundy Head's in the outer Shielings. It's got a huge sea cave, Finna's realm. Lowell shared a glance with Nessa. Finna is the sea goddess of the Shielings. She would be the equivalent of Coln, and Mundy is colloquial for mounded, as in barrow mounds. So this could be a real location, said Nessa. There are 13 riddles here, 12 containing the known names of the runes and one for the crown. The numbers match up with the legend. Lowell sighed. Those all will have been destroyed long ago in the previous age. They're a myth, Nessa. Yes, this document is old, and yes, there appear to be coincidences to what have been documented of the runes, but it's very unlikely. He shook his head and held the document up to the window to take a closer look. He fingered a darker spot, scratching at a speck. Was there anything here? Yes, said Nessa. There was a wax seal. My partner is taking it to an expert on seals in Coram City as a separate authentication. Lowell stared out the window for a moment. If we can't figure out a few more of these together this afternoon, let me keep it overnight to keep looking. If we can untangle the other riddles against a map and some other trustworthy sources, I'll have a better answer as to its validity for you. I'd rather not leave it here. I would feel more comfortable if you made your own copy. You could keep one for your own records. So what is this all about? May I see it? Shellah took the parchment from Lowell's extended hand. Squinting at the large but cramped old-style lettering, she couldn't read the words but felt a slight tingling from the paper. She quickly dropped it onto the oaken table. What does it say? This is a poem or a series of riddles, possibly about a set of legendary runes made in the old kingdom of Laren, lost long ago. Lowell picked up the parchment and started to read it aloud. Miasma's shroud lies on a mundy isle where Coln doth dwell. The key to vengeance fits the lock to hell across the whale road. Amber resin glows, the jewel in the deadfall reflects the lake of autumn leaves. Hoarfast snowflakes in crystal caverns grow behind the icefall. Tempests and tides command the sands to the temple of Marta. Fulmination strikes the gray granite peak of the highest pass. The withering winds scour the red lands, carve channels to the sun. Inundation eases Koromo's rocks, blesses summer crops. The curse of pestilence builds with bones the bedrock of the city. Venom is strongest where in the mangroves weaves the snake of many heads. Desiccation preserves the body of kings wrapped in linen to afterlife. Ruins of the lighthouse prove the folly of men over the will of the gods. Conflagration crowns the oracle of the twin temples of Coln and Narrow. The creator of these runes was a sorcerer priest of Old Laren, Lowell continued, who was killed at the fall of the Old Kingdom. Even if one of these runes still exists, it would be a curiosity only. Nobody has the sorcery to harness any of these relics now. He picked up one of his many books and started to page through it. Nessa, that stack on the corner of the table references the old Laren legends and genealogy, if you care to take a look. I've got some older maps, too. We can get them out. Nessa grabbed the top book from the stack and sat in a comfortable-looking chair by the window light. Shellah, would you return at the 4th bell? I'm sure I'll be safe here for the afternoon. Of course, I'll see what Jonas is up to. Shellah finished the last sip of her whiskey and turned to leave. Oh, Miss Skyfast, please return for dinner. Maybe we'll have more information to share then, Lowell added. And if any of these riddles make sense to you, let us know. I'm sure in your travels you will have your own ideas. If you are enjoying this story, please like and subscribe for the latest episodes. I aim to have fresh chapters here weekly. I hope to see you soon for our next episode.